Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Good morning. So y'all, this is the second part of the word that I did last week. Oh goodness. Of the word that I did last week. Last week I did meet, greet, marry part 1. A collision of two hearts. This week I'm doing meet, greet, marry part 2, and this is where it's titled Are You an Abigail? So it's meet, greet, marry part 2, and the question that I'm posing to all my ladies today is, are you an Abigail? Today we are going to unpack the character of Abigail. Okay, so last week, as y'all know, if y'all listen to the word, that I came out of 1 Samuel chapter 25, and I read, I think, from like verses 1 through 23. This week, I'm not going to reread those verses because I'm going to link the video in the description box, and I just need for y'all to go back and listen to it so you can be caught up to speed. Last week, we talked more about King David. This week, we're going to talk more about the character of Abigail, and we're going to unpack her character. I would recommend a pen and a piece of paper because I have some points for you all. And I want you to meditate on these points throughout the week. And then the other thing that I want to kind of say regarding all of this is that I just need y'all to follow me because I do have a lot of meat in this word. It was a lot of meat in the last word, and I think this is going to be the end of this series, but it might be a third video. I'm not sure. However, the title of today's word is meet, greet, marry, and this is the question that I'm posing to you all, to my ladies, is, are you an Abigail? Okay. We're going to start at verse 14. I am going to link the video from last week in the description box, and I just need y'all to go back and listen to it if you may. All right, so 1 Samuel 25, verse 14. One of the servants told Abigail, Nabal's wife, David sent messengers from the wilderness to give our masters his greetings. But he hurled insults at them, yet these men were very good to us. They did not mistreat us, and the whole time we were out in the fields near them, nothing was missing. Night and day they were a wall around us. The whole time we were herding our sheep near them. Now think it over and see what you can do, because disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He is such a wicked man that no one can talk to him. Okay, let's start with this first thing I want to say to build foundation. Definitely go back and listen to last week's word because it'll give you what was stated from verses 1 through 13 so y'all can know why I'm starting at 14. First of all, King David had just lost the prophet, I believe it was Samuel. Prophet Samuel was the prophet who anointed King David. So King David went into the wilderness on his own with his servants, right? Altogether, I think it was about 600 servants, because in the beginning of this chapter, it says he took 400 men with him to go to war against Nabal, and then 200 men stayed back to watch over their items. Now, the reason why King David, this servant, is warning Abigail about how Nabal treated King David's servants is because of that very reason. King David looked out for Nabal's servants when they were in the wilderness. King David is now in the wilderness, and it's a festive time frame happening after the loss of Samuel, in which it's called sheep shearing. And sheep shearing is nothing but people who owned a lot of cattle at that time and sheep cutting off the wool of the sheep, because in Israel and parts of the Middle East, we know that it gets extremely hot, and if they have all of that wool on them, it's extremely insulated and they'll overheat. So in that, King David also was well aware that that is a festive time, and that Nabal would have more than enough. Because you got to understand, David was also a shepherd. He grew up as a shepherd. So he knows the times and the seasons. So Nabal basically came for David's servants that he sent, and basically King David was mad And he said, I am going to literally kill everything that belongs to Nabal. So the servant got wind of this conversation, and he came back to Abigail, who is Nabal's wife, and basically stated what he said. David sent messengers from the wilderness to give our masters his greetings, but he hurled insults at them. Yet these men were very good to us. They did not mistreat us, and the whole time we were out in the fields near them, nothing was missing. So night and day, they were a wall around us the whole time we were herding sheep near them. Now think it over and see what you can do, because disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He is such a wicked man that no one can talk to him. So the question that I have for you all is, are you an Abigail? If you're not an Abigail, after you listen to this word, your homework assignment is to become an Abigail. Because in order for you to attract a man of God, in order for you to attract a man of valor, you're going to have to work on some character development, such as myself. So the first character trait of an Abigail is that she took heed. Abigail took heed. And to take heed means to pay attention and to consider. You notice that the servant said, now think it over and see what you can do. Abigail didn't say, oh, get out of my face with all of that. You talking crazy. King David ain't going to be able to do nothing to us. What can King David do? If my husband said no, my husband said no. So essentially, because Abigail made a decision to listen to the servant, that was the very thing that literally saved not only her life, but all the servants who were attached to Nabal's life. So, Abigail, a virtuous woman, a woman who's ready for marriage, she takes heed. When her husband say, you know, babe, we don't need to get that credit card because we need to pay off that, she don't go behind his back and say, oh, I'm going to do it anyway. No, she takes heed. She listens. Because are you an Abigail? Because Abigails don't, when their husband tell them or ask them to do something, don't say, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to do what I want to do. No, she took heed. Now, Abigail was married to Nabal, and Nabal was a wealthy man. But when a servant came to her, she took heed and she listened. Okay. So now we're in verses 18. Abigail acted quickly. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 seahs of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisin, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. Then she told her servants, go on ahead, I'll follow you. But she did not tell her husband Nabal. So when David sent the servants in the earlier parts of the chapter, he sent 10 servants to Nabal to ask if Nabal could supply for them while they were in the wilderness. Nabal said, no, I'm not taking from my servants to feed your servants. So the reason why King David wanted to kill Nabal and all that was attached to him was because when Nabal's servants were in the wilderness, David took care of his servants. So how dare you repay me evil for good? So essentially, the servant said, we need to do something because we're about to die, simply because Nabal is thick, simply because Nabal is evil. Think carefully about a plan of action, Abigail. So Abigail acted quickly. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dress sheep, 5 seahs of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisin, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. So the second characteristic of an Abigail, and you need to ask yourself, are you an Abigail? Before you call yourself an Abigail, before you say you want to get married, ask yourself, do I present with these characteristics? Abigail moved quickly. In verses 18, it said Abigail acted quickly. She did not delay because she knew that her delaying could be a matter of life and death. It was going to be a matter of bloodshed. And so if she could help it, she was not going to sit around and let the situation unfold. She was going to move quickly because she was able to discern trouble. And so my question for you ladies are you going to move quickly? And are you able to discern when your man is in trouble? Okay, to be a little bit, more practical, here's the question. Ask my daughters, are they moving quickly to do the things that I have asked them to do? What has God asked you to do that you continue to move slow on? I have my list, and I can say that, no, I'm not fully an Abigail because I got some work to do, but I'm working towards those things. What have God asked you to do, and you continue to drag your feet? Have God told you to start the business and yet you still just pondering the business plan, or better yet, haven't even looked at the business plan because for real, you're afraid that it's not going to even happen? Have God told you to start losing weight and at the same time you continuously doing the opposite of that? Has God told you to start saving money and you're not doing it, to start paying off debt and you're not doing it? So God has asked you to do things, to be obedient in areas in which you have not done. Abigail, on the other hand, she moved quickly. Because how many of us know that attached to the things that God has told us to do, we are meant to be a solution to a problem. And it's a matter of life and death. But we can't help nobody if we don't be obedient. And God gave me the word renege. I play cards with my granddaddy. Sometimes we like to play spades. And it'll be times where if you renege, it can cost you the game of spades. It really can. That's the reason why they say if you play your cards right. Because if you play your cards right, you can win the game. But if you renege, it can cost you the game. The definition of renege is to go back on a promise, undertaken, or to default on. Like if you were to default on a loan, you defaulted on the agreement that you made. So if you renege, you're saying that you have something that at first you said you did not have. So you're reneging. You can't throw out a jack or an ace or a king after all the kings have been thrown out. And then now when we're on the hearts or the spades or something like that, you trying to throw that out. You're reneging. And it will cost you the game. God is saying you're reneging, you're not moving quickly, you're not moving in haste, will cost you to lose the game. That's the spirit of self-sabotage. Are you an Abigail? Because Abigail, she moved quick. When she heard what the servant was saying and recognized that as the voice of God speaking through the servant, and she moved with haste. She did not delay. When God has told you to do something, I know I'm speaking to myself. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but I'm speaking to me. Have you started the process of doing the things that God has asked you to do? Or are you reneging? Meanwhile, some of us are griping because we feel like God hasn't fulfilled his promises to us. But what if I'm here to let somebody know and to burst your bubble that your promises is attached to your obedience. And so God ain't reneging on his promises to you, but you are reneging on your promises to God. Okay. Tell my daughters that I have not reneged on my promises to them. However, they have reneged on their promises to me. Because a part of me fulfilling my promise to them is them being obedient and by faith doing what I've asked them to do. Okay. And you're wondering why God has not sent you your King David. He hasn't sent you your King David because you have not lived up to become an Abigail. No, God not saying you have to be perfect, because if you read this, Abigail didn't do everything right. It was some things that Abigail she did wrong. But God is not looking at your perfection. He's looking at your preparation. Are you going to even walk in the direction that I told you to go? Are you just going to keep allowing yourself to sink deeper and deeper into spiritual quicksand because you're not doing what I've asked you to do? God wants to break the spirit of paralysis, the spirit of being stuck, the spirit of not moving forward. Okay. So I'm going to continue to move on because I don't want y'all throwing tomatoes at me. I'm just telling y'all what God's telling me. So it says that Abigail acted quickly. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 seahs of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisins, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. Then she told her servants, "Go on ahead, I'll follow you." But she did not tell her husband Nabal. See, that was something that she didn't do right. God is not worried about your perfection. What's your preparation? Because honestly, if she would have honored her husband, who comes first in the marriage? The husband. And he had already said no. However, God says all things work together for the good of those who are called according to my purpose. So even in her lack of honor in this situation, God still utilized it for not only her good, but for the good of David. Okay. As she came riding her donkey into a mountain ravine, there was David and his men descending toward her, and she met them. David had just said, "It's been useless, all my watching over the fellow's property in the wilderness, so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good." Okay, I talked about last week how as David was descending, Abigail was ascending. So what I'm telling y'all is that in order for us to be the woman that God calls us to be for our husbands, when they're descending, we have to ascend, aka we have to come up a little higher. We have to come up a little higher. We can't go down with them. We have to go up and catch them when they fall, because y'all think that a man only supposed to catch y'all when you fall. No. God says submit one to another. It's going to be moments in your husband's life where he is going to be weak. If this wasn't the case, then when Adam and Eve were in the garden, Adam was weak. And because Eve chose not to ascend, she encouraged Adam to eat the fruit. So women, we have power. And our husbands take us seriously. Our husbands listen to us. Read Proverbs 31 if you think I'm lying. So when your husband is descending, you have to ascend. You have to come up a little higher. That's why you have to fast. That's why you have to pray. That's why you have to wake up before your house and set the affairs of your house in order. Okay. So another trait of Abigail was that she was solution focused. So let's read on. David said, "It's been useless, all my watching over this fellow's property in the wilderness, so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good. May God deal with David, be it ever so. severely if by morning I leave alive one male who belongs to him. When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off of her donkey and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "Pardon my servant, my lord, and let me speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. Please pay no attention, my lord, to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name. His name means fool, and folly goes with him. As for me, your servant, I did not see the man my Lord sent. And now, my Lord, as surely as the Lord your God lives and as you live, since the Lord has kept you from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your hands, may your enemies and all who are in intent on harming my Lord be like Nabal. And let this gift which your servant has brought to my Lord be given to the men who follow you." Abigail was solution focused. AKA, Abigail was a problem solver. She didn't see a problem and left it unhinged. She saw the problem and sought to rectify the problem by way of not only go. How brave are you to go up a mountain, only you and maybe your few servants, against 400 men? And let's not get it confused. David was a poet, a prophet, and a warrior. David was really about that life. He had killed a bear, a lion, and Goliath with all what of a sling. So it was nothing for him to really go and wreak havoc on Nabal's territory. So for Abigail to be so bold and brave and to meet David up a mountain as he coming down with 400, what we would call in modern day times, goons, says that not only was she a solution focused person, but she had character and heart. What if I told you that a part of your purpose is to be a solution focused individual? You provide the solution to a part of your focus, and it will take godly courage. But if you are afraid to even go up the mountain, Jesus, if you are afraid to ascend and come on up a little higher to meet trouble dead in the eye, then are you really an Abigail? Are you ready for that kingdom spouse? Because a part of what God is calling you to requires you to go uphill and to face demonic spirits and principalities that are ruling on certain mountains. But God is saying, how can I trust you if you won't even do what I've asked you to do? So point number 3 is, are you solution focused? Abigail was solution focused. She didn't sit around waiting for life to happen to her. She said, I'm going to go and I'm going to find a solution to a problem. And by faith, I'm going to pray that this warrior accepts my gift, because word had got around that King David was able to kill a Philistine, an uncircumcised Philistine, with a sling, with kill a lion, kill a bear, that he was really about that life, that he had killed, that Saul had killed his thousands, but David had killed his tens of thousands. Word had went around, trust me, it did. Your husband is about that life. And he don't need a weak back woman, a jelly back woman. And the only way your husband is going to account to you is if you're willing to go up that mountain and be about that life and have a solution to a problem. One thing I learned in mental health, if you come to a person with a lot of problems but no solutions, you're not valuable. You're not an asset. Every manager I ever had always wanted to know, what's the solution? Because in mental health, we're dealing with problems all day. So they want to know that you're capable of having a solution to a problem and that you're just not coming to them with problems. Abigail came to King David with a solution. That's why she had a gift. Some of us as women are empty-handed and all we got is problems and no solutions, and we think a man want to pick that up. He got his own problems. Yes, he wants to be there for you. Yes, you need to be there for him. But if all you bring your husband is bills and headaches, are you ready to be married? And are you a Abigail? Check your character. Okay. Which leads to my next point. She fell at his feet and said, "Pardon my servant, my Lord, and let me speak to you." Hear what your servant has to say. "Please pay no attention to that wicked man Nabal, as he is just as his name means, which is fool." And then she came to him with a parting gift, a gift to apologize. So I said all of that to say, Abigail was a giver. She gave. She didn't ask, "What's in it for me?" She said, "Here, I have something for you." And how many of us, hold on, y'all. How many of us want to have a husband just to be an emotional vampire? How many of us want to have a husband just to only take and not to ever give? I don't know why God is sending me this way. How many of us want a husband to work his fingers down to the bone? You know that song by Jaheim featuring Ness, "You can have anything I got, all of me right on the spot. Na 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 na. You can have anything I own. Work my fingers all the way to the bone." Okay, I gotta listen to that now. Y'all know that a good man, a God ordained man, is gonna be on that type of time all day long. He not gonna leech from you. He not gonna mooch from you. But if he is out there being the protector, being the provider, when he come home, ladies, give that man something. Let that man be happy to come home. Okay, make sure that man is happy to return to his abode. You ain't cooked in a week and you think he want to come home? The house is dirty and he want to come home? And I get it that we all like, well, I work too. Okay. However, that's your man. I'm sorry. Like I have to not go against what culture is saying about it's 50-50. No relationship will ever be 50-50 at any point in time. There will be times where you will be giving more. If your husband is wheelchair bound, if your husband is sick, if your husband just lost his job, are you telling me that because you went out and worked that he still don't deserve a home cooked meal? Because marriage is okay. The prophet at my church, him and his wife have a podcast called We Do Daily. Because when you say your vows, you say we do. I do. I promise to. Do you take this man? I do. Do you take this woman? I do. We do daily. So when I'm at the altar and I give over to you my hand in marriage and vice versa, I don't just say we do in front of all those people because we got a buffet of food and I'm looking nice in my dress and you looking nice in your tux and the DJ coming and the music gonna be bomb and we got a honeymoon after this. What about 6 years later and he lost his job or you miscarried or all the things that can happen in the state of a marriage? Are you still gonna do? Or are you gonna say what's in it for me? Abigail was a giver. A giver. A giver. giver. You cannot call yourself an Abigail and say that you're ready to get married if you're talking about 50-50, because 50-50 what? 50-50 who? 50-50 where? There is no such thing as 50-50. There will never be in a relationship. There will be times where you will be giving more. There will be times where he will be giving more. Regardless of what, in a godly marriage, honor is always going to come first, period. And it ain't no 50-50 on that. It's 100%. Your man is the head of your household. And I don't want to hear no woman who say they want to get married say, well, I work too. Okay. But at the same time, honor. Husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Wives, respect your husband. Because love to a man is respect. That's the reason why David stopped in his tracks and he listened to Abigail, because she said when she saw David, she quickly got off of her donkey, a donkey which represents humility, and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. Blessed Barocco. Y'all saying y'all ready for marriage, but you're acting like serving your husband is beneath you. You're not ready for marriage. You're not a kingdom wife. You need to work on your character. Oh my goodness. Serving your husband. She bowed down. Your husband tap you on the shoulder and you roll over because you don't feel like it. It's not serving your husband. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to say it. Your husband say, babe, I'm craving meatloaf, mashed potatoes tonight. And you say, I don't feel like it. You walk away and you slam the door. You cook sometime. That's not honor. Your husband say, babe, we need to be on a budget, so we're going to chill out on spending all this money. And you go behind his back and you swipe that debit card. That's not honor. That's not honor. And I'm not talking about abusive situations, so don't play, y'all. I'm talking about situations where you have a good man, a godly man, a man who is ordained by God, who not perfect, but he is worth it. Marriage is about sacrifice. I don't know why I'm still here, because Abigail was a giver. Marriage is about sacrifice. And if you're not willing to be sacrificial, you're not ready for marriage. Some of y'all want marriage for reels, for Instagram pictures. What you gonna do when your finances being attacked and it's not a real like moment? It's instead real life. No, it's not a real, but it is real. It's getting real. It's a song by Music Child that say, I will love you if your hair turns gray, and I still want you even if you gain a little weight. And girl, the way I feel will always be the same, just as long as your love don't change. Y'all gotta listen to that. I'm there for you and you were there for me, and I don't know the words, but we gonna look at it and see. Just as long as your love don't change. And in the video, she was paralyzed. And you saw Music Soul Child still loving her. Oh God, that's sacrificial love. That's the love of Jesus Christ. When he died on the cross, he didn't say, oh, I'm not going to die for Jaquil because, she don't read her Bible every day. Or I'm not going to die for her because, she haven't communed with me in weeks or months, and I'm not going to die for her because she did pornography. And no, he died for you even knowing that you would be all of those things and do all of those things. He even died for the atheists who would never believe in him. So you don't get to pick and choose when you want to honor your husband, because honoring your husband isn't convenient. And it ain't going to always feel good to your flesh. So are you ready to get married? if you're not a giver. Point number 4. Point number 5. Abigail was also a good leader. Abigail was a good leader because if you go back a couple of verses, she told her servants to go in front of her and she followed. And you're not a good leader unless you're willing to do what? Follow. Abigail presented with the ability to even lead David in a moment of weakness where he was about to go downhill, literally go downhill and kill Nabal and all things that was attached to Nabal. God wanted me to tell y'all something too. Y'all not gonna like me after this word. It's okay. Tell my women they're too indecisive. And the spirit, if I don't know, will delay them. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. God wanted me to tell y'all that y'all, to include myself, that women, we are too indecisive. And the spirit of I don't know will delay us. Have you ever, I'm going to use a simple example. I don't know what I want to eat. And you spent 30 minutes trying to figure out what you wanted to eat. By the time you finally figure it out, you done just wasted 30 minutes of your time. You're too indecisive. God is saying make a decision because you cannot be a good leader if you don't know how to make a decision. Some of you, your husbands will be in the military and you're going to have to make decisions. What if he overseas and y'all on 2 different time frames? You got to make a decision. Y'all might be in the middle of looking for a house and he might say, babe, pick out the house. And just send me pictures. Can you make decisions? There will be times where his call may take him places and he gonna need you to know how to make decisions. That's why Fabulous said, I'm gonna need Coretta Scott if I'm gonna be king. I'm a movement by myself. Y'all gotta listen to these songs. I'm a force when we're together. Baby, I'm cool all by myself. But baby, you make me better. Y'all. He said, yeah, I may flame, but baby, we burn it up because you can't be a power couple if you're so codependent and your husband don't ever get the ability to relax in knowing that you're going to make good decisions. Okay, I got to go somewhere. Proverbs 31. Let me tell y'all about a Proverbs 31 woman, okay? A Proverbs 31 woman trusts her. Now I'm going to my Bible. I won't go in here, y'all. But I got to go here. Because I need y'all to see that y'all, to include myself, are saying, we want these men to be all these things. But it's certain things that a wife has to be before she gonna get that husband that God got for her. Because God say, I like my sons too, and I love them too. And you ain't gonna hurt them. Because you don't have a character of an Abigail. As a matter of fact, in Psalms 31, they characterize it as epilogue, the wife of noble character. So your character has to blossom into a wife. Okay. It's a part that says in chapter 31 of Proverbs, the 11th verse says, her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. Let me read that again for the people in the back. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. Her husband don't lack nothing of value because he has confidence in her decision-making skills. Confidence meaning I know that you're going to make a good choice. Not because you're perfect, just because you got sense. You're not a stupid woman. You're not a folly woman. You're not foolish. You're not going to mock me. You're not going to embarrass me. You're going to make wise choices. What if you and your husband go into business together? And he might got to go overseas and you got to make a decision. And your husband needs you to make a choice and he might can't get to the quick. He need to trust that you're going to make a proper decision. What if your husband go away on business and the kids acting up and you make a decision about the children? He need to know that you made a decision that's not going to harm your children. Are you a wife of godly character? Are you a wife of noble character? Are you able to be a good leader when that time comes? Fabulous said, I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together. Baby, I'm cool all by myself, but baby, you make me better. Her man don't like nothing of value because she's valuable. Leaders are valuable. That's the reason why people have church hurt. Because a good leader knows how to pour into their flock. And when they found out that it was all a lie, people are straight from the church because they thought this was a good leader. That's the reason why Jesus was able to make such a great impact, because he was a leader, but he was also a servant. Are you a leader? And then furthermore, stop being so indecisive. That spirit of I don't know is not attractive. I just got to say that. I'm sorry. Like, you have... Lord have mercy. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't mean to go here. But men like confidence. They're attracted to confidence. And if you are a person who don't know how to make decisions, you're not giving your man a chance to rest. Because he always have to think. Sometimes they don't want to think. Sometimes they want to come home and chill. Even down to, babe, you want chicken and steak. Make a decision. If he say, babe, whatever, make a choice. Plan date night sometimes. Don't leave it all to him all the time. Have a plan. You come up with date night. Let's go here. Let's try this. Stop being so indecisive. That is a spirit of fear attached to of being afraid of failure. God is within her. Jesus. She cannot fail. So even your wrong moves, God makes right. Even the things that you do wrong, God gonna make it right. He gonna make your cricket path straight. Okay, let's go to Psalms. And I think it's 139. I'm going somewhere with this. I won't even try to do all of this. Like, I really won't. But I gotta do it. Because I want us to be godly wives, to include myself. Right? So God says, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to obtain. God is saying, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. So why are you so afraid to make a mistake when it's predestined? Yes, we have will. Yes, we have choice. But if God is within her, you cannot fail. So even the things that you did wrong, God is going to utilize it for your good. Even the things that you did wrong, God is going to utilize it for your good. Selah. That's a pause. Take time to think about every time that you did something wrong. That for real, it's going to serve its purpose. And I don't know why I'm saying this. I feel led to say, maybe somebody going to come across this video who did porn, who was a sex worker. And you're so ashamed of your past. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'm going to say it. And God is saying, all things work together for the good of those who are called according to my purpose. And God is saying, you're not washed up and he can still use you. And yes, you're still worthy of marriage. because you have a ministry and a call on your life. Oh my goodness. To help other women. Because when you were young, you were molested. And you've always been told how unworthy you were. But God is saying, God is saying, hold on. For you created me in my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That is Psalms 139, verses 13 through 14. God is saying, meditate on that. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Praise God because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And it don't matter about your past life or what you used to do. God still got a husband for you. And people gonna hate and say, oh, she not worthy of love because she was a prostitute or she was a porn star. And God is saying so. Why am I talking like this? Y'all, for real, I'm serious. God is saying so. I still called you to marriage. Pastor. From porn star to pastor. Okay. All right. I don't know who that's for. But if you come across this video and you hear this and you just so happen to listen at timestamp 4621, that word was for you. Okay? So then the other character of Abigail was that Abigail understood how to speak life. Okay, why do I say that? Because starting here, it says, please forgive your servant's presumption. The Lord your God will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my Lord. Now, Abigail talking to David. Because you fight the Lord's battles and no wrongdoing will be found in you as long as you live. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, the life of my Lord will be bound securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God. But the lives of your enemies will hurl away as from the pocket of a sling. When the Lord has fulfilled for my Lord every good thing he promised concerning him, and has appointed him ruler over Israel, my Lord will not have on his conscience the staggering burden of needless bloodshed or of having avenged himself. And what the Lord your God has brought my Lord success, remember your servant. And when the Lord my God has brought you success, remember your servant. Abigail spoke life to King David. Abigail spoke life to King David. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Abigail spoke life to King David. That's it. That's all. You want to know why your husband don't open up to you? You want to know why your boyfriend, your fiance don't open up to you? Because you don't speak life. You complain a lot. Some of y'all complain a lot. And I'm just going to say it. Some of y'all complain too much. And no man want to hear it. So like when he don't open up to you about his problems, check yourself, and I'm gonna let that rest. Abigail was also an extinguisher. And an extinguisher is someone who puts out fire. Because it says that Abigail told King David, when the Lord, my God, your God makes you higher, you're not going to have to repent over bloodshed. So he was about to go on ahead and kill Nabal. And guess what? Because it was a woman who ascended while he was going downhill, he don't got to have that blood on his hands. Because you want to know why? Because Abigail was an extinguisher. Are you an extinguisher? When your husband about to go off and make dumb decisions, do you say, babe, we don't need to do that? We got to think about our future. Babe, you a king. Like, kings don't act like that. You don't got to do that. We gonna fight this battle on our knees and turning down our plate. Or do you say, yeah, babe, da 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 da? And do you got that snap, popple, and crack spirit called that pop-off spirit, where you, instead of distinguishing a fire, instead of extinguishing a fire, you add gas to the fire. Matter of fact, you can't even distinguish when your man is in fire. Okay. Lastly, Abigail had keen judgment. Keen judgment. She was a person who was able to discern a situation and make a good decision. Because if Abigail wouldn't have ascended up that mountain, David would have went downhill. It ain't no telling what would have been the repercussions of him not allowing God to fight his battles. Okay, so the name of this word, those are y'all 8 characteristic traits. So I want y'all to write all these characteristic traits down and meditate on it and ask God to allow your character to align with that of a Proverbs 31 woman and or an Abigail. But I still want to finish reading all this off because I want to tell y'all why God is saying meet, greet, and marry. Okay, please forgive your servant's presumption. The Lord your God will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my Lord, because you fight the Lord's battles, and no wrongdoing will be found in you as long as you live. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, the Lord your God, to take your life, the life of my Lord will be bound securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God. But the lives of your enemies will hurl away as from the pocket of a sling. When the Lord has fulfilled for my Lord every good thing he promised concerning him, as he appointed him ruler all over Israel, my Lord will not have on his conscience the staggering burden of needless bloodshed or of having avenged himself. And when the Lord your God has brought my Lord success, remember your servant. David said to Abigail, praise be the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you today to meet me. May you be blessed for your good judgment. I didn't even read that part, y'all. I had forgot all about it saying that. But it says, may you be blessed for your good judgment and for keeping me from bloodshed this day and from avenging myself with my own hands. Otherwise, as surely as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, who has kept me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, not one male belonging to Nabal would have been left alive by daybreak. Then David accepted from her hand, and she brought him and said, go home in peace. I have heard your words and granted your request. When Abigail went to Nabal, he was in the house holding a banquet like that of a king. Like that of a king. Meanwhile, he wouldn't even give to the real king. Okay, I'm done. He was in high spirits, aka drunk. So she told him nothing at all until daybreak. Then in the morning, when Nabal was sober, his wife told him all these things, and his heart failed him, and he became like a stone. About 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal, and he died. About 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal, and he died. So King David was about to go kill Nabal, but guess what? He didn't even have to fight no battles because God had already had it under control. All things work together for the good of those who are called according to my purpose. Okay. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, praise be to the Lord who has upheld my cause against Nabal, for treating me with contempt. He has kept his servant from doing wrong and has brought Nabal's wrongdoing down on his own head. Then David sent word to Abigail asking her to become his wife. Then David sent word to Abigail asking her to become his what? Not his mistress, not his side chick, not his girlfriend, not even his fiance. David said, skip fiance, can you be my wife? Oh, Jesus. Y'all, and this is me. I'm tired. But this is so good to me. But then David sent word to Abigail asking her to become his wife. Right? His servants went to Carmel and said to Abigail, David has sent us to you to take you to become his wife. She bowed down with her face to the ground and said, I am your servant, and I am ready to serve you and wash the feet of my Lord's servants. Again, a giver. She did not say, oh, yeah, he asked me to be his wife. She said, no, I want to wash y'all feet, because y'all travel a ways to tell me that, from in the wilderness, to tell me that David wants me to be his wife. Okay. Abigail quickly got on her donkey and, attended by her 5 female servants, went with David's messengers and became his wife. David also married Anahiam of Jezreel, and they were both his wives. God is saying, meet, greet, marry. She met David up the mountain as he was coming down. She greeted herself as his servant. And then, in exchange for her obedience, she was blessed to be in the bloodline of Jesus Christ, because you want to know why she married King David. God is saying, meet, greet, marry. Are you an Abigail? I got to go, y'all. I got somewhere to be. But I just wanted to release that word and ask you the profound question of, are you an Abigail? Love y'all. Be blessed.